Good evening. So, we're having a discussion about victim blaming.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, it was victim blaming. That's right.
victim blaming and shaming.
Victim
Um,
blaming and shaming.
and as per usual, we're going to get your professional perspective and
Lovely.
my unprofessional perspective. I'm more on the watching what's going on in the media.
And I am more about what is happening amongst women and girls in terms of violence. And happy Women's International Day.
Oh, is it today?
Well, it's for the next few
March
weeks.
8th. Yeah, it is. It's International Women's Day. Yeah. I mean, do you know it's actually run by a panel of men? I'm, sh-
Well, we're
I'm
taking
sure
it
it comes as
over. So
no
let's embrace
surprise.
it. Embrace
Um,
it.
yeah,
We're making
but
it
yeah,
our own.
we're all about supporting women. We're trying to create a female safe space. There's not many
We are.
online.
Yes, we are.
And yeah, most conversations are dominated by male voices. So we're trying to do something about that.
Shout loud.
We were going to sort of focus on the victims that become very public, such as Madame Pellico,
Mhm.
and how, if you look at the way she was portrayed in the media and what I feel the general opinion of her is nothing but support.
Oh, absolutely. I think when you first spoke to me about it, you saw it quite differently. You felt that she had been victim blamed. I think initially she felt that way, but my understanding is she felt so strong about bringing out what had happened to her, being raped while drugged by her own husband. She felt it important for the world to hear her story about the coercion that had gone on in her marriage for over 20 to 30 years, and the way in which she discovered it. And I felt that she was an absolute don in the way that she came forward and spoke her truth. Justice was served. Obviously, she has to go through the aftermath of that, the trauma of what she's experienced. But I definitely am one lady that salutes her.
Yeah, I mean, I've not heard anyone blaming her or, um, I mean,
People may have
honestly,
said she must have known, and there were occasions when she woke up and she had these feelings, but
oh, I
no.
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Mm, mm,
I had heard about her and I'd heard that she had allowed the case to become public
public.
to benefit other victims. But what I didn't know
Mm,
was the details that her husband had been drugging her whilst inviting these men to come over. So I didn't know any of that
sleep
until
with
just
her
very recently.
and sleep with her. So, I mean, that's a case of victory, I think. That's one under our belt. That's one I think we can bank and take away. It's at the, um, you know, it kind of comes at a time when women do need to speak out, and it's at the detriment of someone's trauma. But her bravery in coming forward, sharing her story with other women, has given them nothing but strength to be able to come forward and share their own stories. Now, what I say here is, you know, unfortunately, our courts, um, I've said this before, dealing with rape and going through the criminal justice with rape cases doesn't always favour in the victim's corner, because it's a lot of the time it's her word against his. But in her case, there was prominent evidence, tangible evidence, proving her and showing her as the victim of a horrific crime.
I think the first thing that I noted about it was the fact that she was so celebrated in the media. And you say about other women coming forward, well, we have so many, we have hundreds of women
Mm.
coming forward and being shamed in the media or being blamed for what happened to them. So I just find it really interesting that in
It's
her
so
case,
weird. It is. I mean, just look at our society in the 60s. You couldn't even go in the pub without your husband permission. You wouldn't be able to get served. But we had programs that were portraying women at that time, 60s and 70s, as sexualized objects. The way that we dressed, we were made to wear these little skirts and these high boots, and we were over sexualized. Giving the impression that all we wanted to do was be touched and and felt up. We do want to work,
objectified.
yeah, objectified. Now, in some of the cases that have come to that have passed my way, women have said, yes, I was dressed in a certain way, but as I say, so what? That's your prerogative. That does not give permission for someone to then rape you. And it doesn't give permission for people to say, well, she got that because she looked that way.
Do you think that happens in the judge in the
Unfortunately, we live in a world with men that will say that, with women that will say that. We're human. We always see faults in people's behaviours. But I'm here to say that, blaming a victim for something that's happened to her is just, it only adds to her trauma. And you kind of give permission for someone to do what they do. Actually, you do give permission for the perpetrator to continue that type of behaviour.
once you get into a legal situation, surely in 2025 they can't be still using that as I mean, I know in the case we were discussing briefly recently of the Irish boxer, his name's gone out of my head.
I do remember, but go on. Of a case, yeah.
um, because the girl that he did it to, she was drunk and obviously they were doing gear and she'd apparently sent him a selfie or something. So that was used in the media to paint her in a bad light. And the fact that she had a child as well. Not, never mind the fact that he's got 3 kids and a fiance, but it's
Exactly.
all about. But
Exactly.
I think in the case of the Pelican woman is she looked, if you didn't know anything about her, just seeing her image, very well presented, well dressed. I don't know if that has a lot to do with it. Like I feel like the fact
Well,
that she was married, she was from a very conventional kind of
that,
lifestyle,
well,
the way
there's your
she
victim.
dressed, the way she looked, the way she presented herself, that
Yeah.
allowed the media to say, oh, we've got someone here that we can actually say didn't deserve it.
Our perceptions of how attacks happen are frivolous. We do have certain ideas. We've been conditioned to think of situations in certain with certain perspectives. A rape case, for example, we often think that it's stranger led. A lot of the time, and many of the rape cases that I've dealt with within working within domestic abuse have been perpetrated by people that women know. Um, and that again sometimes makes it hard to prosecute because where is the thin line between saying yes or no? In terms of that specific, what I've just said there, the victim blaming then will always, the women will always have that sense of being blamed because she knows this person, she may have slept with them before. Does that mean that she's given consent because she slept with them one time, that consent falls through to other times? No, it doesn't. As women, we have a right at any point during a sexual um, experience to say no, regardless of how long you have been with your partner. I even had this conversation, I remember many years ago with my husband, where and I had put the question to him. I said, you know, if we were having sex and I said no, would you stop? I said, and you were right in the middle, in the depth of having sex with me, would you stop? And he said, of course I would. I was kind of shocked at that. I shouldn't be, but I was. And I was like, would you? And I said, even if you, he said, Shim, no means no. I really
Do you think
respected my husband for that,
do you
know?
think do you think you were shocked because of your previous history
I mean, I don't
of
have a
being
vast,
mistreated?
I don't have a huge amount of personal experience about being sexually mistreated. I have a huge experience of, I remember when I was younger, I dressed a certain way. I had very short skirts. I thought I had great legs. I wanted to show them off. I was young. Um, and I remember there was a time when I'd gone out with a gentleman. I must have been a teenager at the time. And we had gone for drinks, and I think to, we had gone back to his place or gone back to the office because I'd left my bag there. I can't remember. But he then wanted to kiss me. And I was like, what are you doing? And I remember being called a tease.
Mm,
A tease because I'd gone out with a drink, which had led him to think that for some unknown reason I wanted to have sex. In my head, I had just gone out for a drink. Naively, that's how I saw it. Many women see it in that way. Many women can think, I don't want to call it naivety, but we don't, sex isn't always on at the forefront of our minds, is what I'm trying to say. So when he said that to me, I remember saying, excuse me, I'm a tease. Why? Oh, you've gone out for a drink. And that makes you think I want to have sex with you or sit here and kiss you? No, darling. We've gone out with a drink because I thought you was good company.
mm,
So do you see what I mean? He
mm.
had interpreted it as a sexual advance, and I had interpreted it as going out with a friend for a drink. And
Yeah.
then he blamed me. It's as simple as that. I'm a strong character and I do feel that I can handle myself in certain situations. However, that could have gone really wrong for me. And it did make me think afterwards. So there's an example of victim blaming, of just going for a drink with somebody. I think we probably have to lay boundaries very, very clear. Boundaries have to be made very clear in the first instance. In the case that you spoke about, they had been seeing each other. So again, he had a certain expectation of this woman who had sent him a picture of her. I don't know what the picture looked like.
No, they
Maybe,
hadn't been seeing each other. They hadn't been seeing
ah,
each other. I
so
still
his
can't remember his name.
expectation
The
from,
wrestler guy.
you'll get
I
the
really
name
should. I've
and you'll
made
put it
videos
in
about him. I should know his name. Anyway, no, they hadn't been seeing each other. They knew of each other. They lived in a similar area. They were from the same area, sorry. And basically he was um
how did they meet
out.
up?
He was out
Out,
at
out.
a club, and because
When
he
he had his
thought he was
missus and 3 kids at home.
right.
Yeah.
I think there
Right.
might have been two then, or she might have been pregnant, but
Oh,
because it was in
girl. He
2018.
had he had, but what you're
He's
saying
he's now
is
got
he
four
had the
kids, I
wife
think.
at home.
Right.
So
He was out in the
he's
club.
married. Yeah, he's up in the club. Yeah,
Up in the club, girls are all around him. He thought he was getting his end away with some of the girls that he'd met in the club.
with the
So,
missus at home. Yeah.
right. So he got his mate to book a hotel room, or someone booked him a hotel room.
Wow.
So he had a hotel room booked at like one of their fancy hotels. And basically she happened to be at her staff party 'cause she worked in a hairdresser. So they think they were having a Christmas party or some kind of party. And so she just, and her Instagram was private, but she had accepted because she knew of him and they were in a similar social circle. She had accepted his follow. So she posted a photo of herself in her outfit, looking, as you do as girls. Again, it can be interpreted as a come on, but no, we as women, we want to look nice. We want to show off to our friends. You know what I mean?
We
So
are
yeah,
social peacocks, aren't we, women? We do
right.
sometimes become social peacocks. We do. That's our feminine side being portrayed. Our natural instincts to just flourish, to feel as if we are the peacock in the garden.
Right, we like to look nice. We like to be girly and
But look at
whatever.
us justifying it,
But anyway, so she's posted a pic to her private stories, and he responded.
right?
And then then she starts getting into a conversation based on the response, and he's like, "Where are you?" And she says, "Oh, I'm at my staff Christmas party at the salon." So he's like, "Oh, we'll come round and get you." So that's what's happened. He's gone and got her and said, "We're going to another party. Do you want to come?" So then her and another girl have got in this car. They've then gone to another guy's house to get some more supplies, which he denied in court, but it's a bit obvious. And they're like, "Oh, why don't you come with us?" So then this guy's got in the car. They've all gone to the hotel suite. She's thinking they're going to have a bit more of a party, but in his head, he's one
A
step
different
ahead.
type of party.
Do
Do
you know
they
what I
not watch
mean?
Mike Tyson's film? And these guys not
I
watched?
mean, look, I have
No,
to
so
say that
cliche.
every time I hear about these instances, I feel like I've really been blessed that nothing like that has ever happened to me. But I've put myself in many circumstances.
We
I used to
do.
be
We
out
do as young
all the
people.
time
We
and
do as young people. We do put ourselves in these vulnerable situations. However,
without even
so do
thinking
these
about it.
boys. That young man that you spoke about, this specific boxer, had his wife pregnant and two children at home. How would he feel if someone did that to his wife? If she
Well,
decided to go out and have a party? What if the shoe were on the other foot? I mean, you
there's
know,
there's a lot to it because I mean,
there's a
first of
lot
all,
to it.
that's not the first time he's allegedly assaulted someone sexually.
Well, he's got caught
Secondly,
now.
she, as his fiance, she's also his business manager, I think, and she also makes money as an influencer. Like, they give off this image of like the perfect rich family because
Yeah,
he makes a lot of money doing that. So
yeah.
they get, endorsement deals. They're like celebrities. So she makes as much money out of the
So
relationship,
it's about the brand.
not as him, but she does very well out of it. So yeah, so she has to protect the brand,
Mm.
but she also had the cheek after the case, after he lost, after he was found guilty, she made a damning Instagram post about this girl saying, not calling her a slag, but basically she might as well have. Do you know what I mean? The double standards that she used
And
to
that's it. As
criticize the girl.
women, we have got
She thinks
to
she
stop. Sorry to cut you there. As women, and I keep saying this, there has to be some camaraderie amongst us. We have to stop looking at brands and perfect families on social media and trying to climb a corporate ladder by pulling ourselves up and down because many of us have children. Half of the population have children that are winning, if not more, you know. And what if it was someone that you knew? I love turning that saying on clients that I work with. They will tell me their story in regards to domestic abuse, and they will blame themselves, or they will sit in the shame. And I always say to them, let's turn this around. If your friend or your child came and said this about them to you, how would you respond? They always respond with a positive, I would support that girl. So why do we do that? Why do we not do that from afar? And I think that's one of the questions you have to ask your viewers, because that's crazy, right?
Well, my viewers, mostly, for the most part, we are on the side of uplifting other women.
Yeah,
We are on the side of calling out the women that don't support other women, and we are on the side of calling out misogyny.
absolutely.
However, as
International
you might
Women's
have
Day.
noticed, when I make a video about someone like Marilyn Manson, you get his fans or stans or whoever they are coming into the comments to defend him and saying, like, parroting, sorry, his lawyer's defense, which is that the women consented, and you just said it yourself. You told your own husband, if I
I
say
are,
no
yeah,
during sex.
exactly. There
So,
it is.
you know, why
There's
is that not the
consent,
case?
but with
Why is
consent,
that not the case for Marilyn Manson? And I find it really hard to believe that
yeah.
these people in my comments.
We just originally said consent can be withdrawn at any time, right? That's what we've just said. And that's
You
the
don't need
question
to
I
tell
put to my
me. You
husband.
don't need to tell me.
So
Um,
I
I
put my
mean,
two fingers up to the Marilyn, whatever his face is.
I was an
Really.
18-year-old to a 37-year-old that
Oh
when
God,
you're
yeah. 'Cause
consenting to
they
become
were
involved,
really young, right? Really young.
that's
Yeah,
how,
I watched the documentary. Oh God, so young, so naive, and such easy pickings, isn't
yes.
it?
So, and
Such
I've had
easy
and
pickings.
I've had people say, well, she used him for her career. Are you serious?
Mm.
Like, I'm actually thinking of going to do a separate video about those comments because they deserve their own special
I think
attention.
you should. I think that's
But it
crazy.
made
I want to know what they would do if that was their little sister.
I was going to say that, like,
He is
what
so sadistic. What did he do to those girls? And C, as my husband, thank you, G, pointed out, consent can be withdrawn at any time during a sexual interaction. It can be withdrawn at any time. To blame the girl, the woman, the grandmother for being in a situation or having sex or whatever the event is just not okay. It
I
is
think we're
down
getting
to a man to be strong, to listen, not to think about just him when when a sexual act is happening. It's this is between two people. If she's not in your thoughts or in your mind and it's just you, that can't be good. That can't be good. That's got to be a two-way flow.
I think with him, he only cares about himself. That is his personality
Well,
type.
he's quite he's very sexually explicit, isn't he?
Yeah, his art. Some people
He's
call it
mental.
art.
Oh, it's
It's not
art,
my cup of tea,
art.
but
He's a mentor. Yeah, what is it? Go
but
on, tell me.
it's
Let's
well,
get
people call it
fancy.
shock rock, and it's like, he's using all these like satanic images, and it's all like um crossing the lines between pain and sex. And the thing is as well, it's like, first of all, the guy was 37, she was 18, and a huge star, and he was approaching
stardom.
these women and
Yeah,
using his position as a
using,
big artist and saying, "Oh,
abusing his position. Yeah,
to
as an
seduce
artist.
these women to bring him in." And I know how hard. Look, I've been love bombed, okay? And so for another woman to judge her and say
Oh my God, you're
that
going to feel
they
flattered,
used
right?
him, it's like I know for sure he was going hard after them because that's his nature. Without even knowing the guy, I can just see it. Okay. And he was using his work as an excuse to get some of them involved and to cross the lines between sex and hurting people,
Yeah.
and that's another thing that
Mm.
is so blurred in the media.
It is, I mean, that whole sexual mantra for me, I don't understand it. Apart from 50 Shades of Grey, that's as deep as I've got, girl. It's not. Is that I'm a bit shallow on it, but
I've
one of the
met
things
the
I think.
author of that book.
Oh, we
She's
won't go
just
into
you
it.
honestly, she was quite a frumpy middle-aged woman.
Listen, you don't have to look a certain way to be able to get into
She
that
knew,
world,
yeah,
because
she
it's
knew what
about
she was
you
doing.
understanding you and having the confidence to move forward in that world, in that sexualized world. It's
Mm,
about confidence, isn't it? But again,
mm,
within that structure, my understanding is there are boundaries.
mm. But yeah,
Marilyn
that's
Manson crossed boundaries. That's
yeah.
what he did. He crossed a boundary. Apparently, there were safe words and he ignored them. I don't know the story. I just know he crossed boundaries. Whether he admits that or not, my understanding from you is that he paid for their legal fees. So there is some admission in paying fees, legal
Not
fees of
according
these
to the
of these
not
women.
according to the
Well,
comment.
you know what? In Shireen's world, that's an admission. Because
In
what did you
most
want to hide?
people's world, I mean, most people with a logical brain would say, why would you pay someone if you
If you
weren't
have nothing to
guilty?
hide. Right.
You would,
So, mic drop. Do you know what I mean? Come on,
you
Marilyn.
I know.
Come on, Marilyn. You know what
But
you
yeah,
did.
I thought one of his ex-girlfriends, the girl that was in Game of Thrones, Esme Bianca, I think her name is, I thought she put it so well. She said that he used sex as an excuse to abuse her.
Well, it's
So
part of, it
he's
is part and
saying like
parcel of one of the tactics of abuse. It's about
he's
power and
pretending he's
control.
yeah, he's pretending that it's about his expression of love or
No,
whatever it
it's about
is,
power and
knowing
control.
and exactly. And it took her 7 years, she said, to
That
come to
makes sense.
terms with it all and realize what exactly
What
had
has
gone on
happened?
because
Because,
he was very clever.
well, she was
He's
living in a bubble with him, wasn't she?
I don't know
Literally
the
in a bubble.
I don't know the exact story,
I
the
can
exact
I can
details.
kind of put that puzzle together quite easily, because within a controlling relationship where you're using dominant sex to show your love, for me, there is an element of control. And with control becomes coercion and manipulation. And once you are in that bubble, it's very hard to see past that layer. It's very hard to see past that smoke screen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have so much empathy for them because it's like you can imagine. I mean, I don't know what his house was like, but I'm sure he lived in a very nice house, a very impressive house. Probably had like a driver, all of the luxuries going on, and he's messaged her and said, I want to make a video with you. Do you know what I mean? And she's thinking, oh, wow, Marilyn Manson wants to make a video with me. She's gone to his house and she's saying he's like chained her up and started whipping her. And then she's like, half thinking, wow, is this I can just imagine how easy it is to get caught up and not even know what's going on. And
Thank you
yet
for
you've
saying
got
that. It
people
is
that don't
very
know
easy to get
either
caught.
of them sitting there trying to make her feel bad. And I'm I'm not down with that at all. I can
What's her name?
completely
Bianca?
understand
Sorry, what's her name?
the girl,
Yeah.
Esme.
Esme, woman to woman, do not feel guilty. This is not your shame, okay? This belongs to him. Give it to him and do not catch that ball. My
I don't
advice.
think she does anymore, but
Mhm.
because I mean, she has gone on to have the fame with Game of Thrones, and she speaks very, not proudly, but
Eloquently.
yeah, she's got herself together. She hasn't let that ruin her life, but she
Yeah.
has definitely been traumatized by it, and she recognizes what he did to her.
And you
She
said something
wasn't.
so prominent there. She recognizes, but she doesn't allow it to dominate her life. So in that point, with that caveat, she's taking back, or she has taken back her control, and she's taken back her power. That in itself is
And
very powerful.
she's gone to the police in LA. She's tried to have him charged because, like you just said, what he did to her was violent assault, but he mixed it
Violent.
in. He mixed it into sex to make her feel like it was part of the sex act. You know, kind of like, well, I thought
So,
you were into this sort of thing. Do you know what I
so did
mean?
she
Like,
say at any point that she had said no? Was she saying that she said no?
I don't know. I've not read the court case or anything like
Must
that. I
have
just
said it.
know that she's gone to the police. I know that she said she had hundreds of pieces of evidence to show what he did to her. And I know that there's been a lot of delays because the courts in LA are, well, first of all, there's so much corruption. Second of all, they have like a massive backlog. But even just in October, I think it was, um, she spoke out about, what am I supposed to do? You say women are supposed to report this stuff. You say you're protecting us. You say you're giving us the Survivors Act. I've done everything and you've done nothing for me. You haven't moved this case forward.
Yeah, we have to stop giving lip
Um,
service, and
and
our
then, so then that
policy.
makes it easy for people to say
It
he's
does, but
innocent.
everything is out there to say we will protect women. But when it comes to these policies, when it comes to these legislations, and when it comes to driving these cases through the criminal justice system, it all of a sudden it becomes difficult. We need, as a feminist organization here, speaking with you, speaking together, reaching out to our community, to campaign strongly for for these policies not to lay redundant. They have to be used and driven through the court so that women who are experiencing this type of behaviour are properly supported through the criminal justice system. It is so important. It is
It is,
so
it,
important.
it
We
is
have to stop allowing this to be made late redundant, and having these men, especially these showmen, get away with disgusting, nasty behaviour.
and
We've got to make
and
the world better for our
normalizing it.
daughters.
Normalizing it to their fan base, normalizing it to other men.
Good,
I mean,
good
we have
word.
touched we
Normalising, yes. Good point.
we have touched on the fact before that our leaders, our political leaders,
So
do
scared to
not.
talk about them. I
No,
might
we're
get
not going to
sacked
get
or
into it, but
something.
let's be honest. A
I
lot of
might get
them have got.
sacked for having an opinion.
A lot of the members of
Oh
actual members of
my.
parliament have got their
I,
own sexual assault cases going on.
can you? You can't even. Oh, I can't even get my
But
head
we're
around
expecting
the
them
world.
to help us
I
mere
can't even
mortals.
believe we're not allowed to talk about them. God, are they that
Um,
scared? Are they that scared of us where they need to
well,
gag us?
I
That's,
think
that's got to
that
be a fearful thing. Come on,
I think
guys.
that the very least we can do is at
It
least
can,
try and get women to, like you say, have more empathy.
yeah,
Stop
amongst
believing,
ourselves.
stop
We
believing this BS that how you dress.
absolutely, we need to come together. We need that camaraderie. We cannot, we've come too far. We've come too far to allow these men to get away with these types of behavior, to allow society to blame us for when something bad happens to us, to allow our own system, criminal justice system, to not support us through these types of crime. It's not okay. And I applaud women to come together, stand strong, because we bring these people into the world. We should be able to definitely take them out with our strength of womanhood.
Mm, yeah, I think sometimes it's really hard to not feel overwhelmed that we're like literally getting nowhere. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it
There
does
seems to be
feel
more
like that.
violence going on
Yeah,
against women than
we're just
ever.
open to it, but there are many times when, as a practitioner, I feel like that. I look at a case, I speak to a client where I feel, God, I'm not getting anywhere. But there is always that one diamond in the coal that appears. And it makes me say, do you know what? I love what I do. This is why I do it, to get that feeling of triumph when something goes well. So we can never give up. We can never drop our swords. We've got to continue our fight for equality when it comes to violence against women in every aspect.
Yeah. And I think definitely sharing if it's happened to you with anyone. Um,
Look at your own
Never
stories as
blaming
a
yourself.
blueprint.
Don't worry about if people are going to blame you, they're going to blame you. Like,
One of the things that we have to look at in terms of victim blaming is the victim blaming that comes from our own families, which is something that we were speaking about. If you have a female that is going through something and they are celebrating, saying, well, she should have knew about it, she deserved it, she this, she that, because you do not understand the tactics and you do not understand the coercion and you do not understand the bubble that they are in at the time, you also victim blame your family members. Take time to listen to them, number one. You may not agree or disagree. You may become very frustrated. A lot of the time, you will become frustrated. It's a very frustrating place to be. But all they are asking you to do is believe them and to believe in them. Get them professional help. You are never going to be the best person to deal with something such as an assault or a rape or a DA incident, or similar to what we spoke about in the celebrity media or in the celebrity world. They need space to talk. They need space to say how it's made them feel. And you as a family member are never going to necessarily be the person for that to go through. If you are angry, give yourself space and go and speak to someone yourself about why you are angry with them. Do not take out that behavior on that person going through that incident. I just wanted to kind of land on that point because I think it's important, because I know that family members also become frustrated and can victim blame members of their own family for behaviors that are being perpetrated against that person as a victim.
I can imagine that if someone has, or if something has happened to someone and they're trying to share it with a family member, or they're very affected by it, it's making them very emotionally and unstable. It might be making them drink more or do other stuff. And they're probably like maybe pressuring them to go to the police or do something. And it's like, I can imagine that can be very frustrating
Oh, it is
for a
frustrating.
family
It's
member
really
to
frustrating,
support when you
but
see the person not.
doing as you think they should do. Yeah, I get
um
it. I really do. It's something that if I have clients and I have family members phone up and they're really frustrated, I always say that you are not in their shoes. This is not your journey. This isn't your journey to understand. This is where she is. She's got to understand it. But trust me, with strength, she will come out of it. She will. But you aiding it by um isolating her or blaming her is not gonna, that doesn't help. You push her more and more into that perpetrator's hands. That is what you do, because you then give that perpetrator a tactic or what can I say, you give them the wand to say, see, even your family think this, you know.
Mm.
So be aware of what you're doing, of what you're saying to these members. It's I understand it's difficult. That bit I do honestly get, but try and have some self-awareness and take your issues with it to someone else. If you can speak to someone outside of your family, because you'll get a totally different perspective of that story that's going on in front of you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think as women, this is so common for us. Like, no one needs to keep these things to themselves anymore. I'm like,
Crazy.
it's 2025. A woman should not be feeling any
Shame.
shame if a
Yeah.
man has deliberately assaulted her. And that's why I think
Crazy.
it's so important that we understand there's a difference between sex, sexual relationships, and violently sexually assaulting someone. Like, they are
And
two.
consent, where you do not turn that consent around to say, oh, but as soon as the oh, but or the but you comes
Mm.
out of your mouth, that is victim blaming. If she says no, if she says, I don't like this, if she says stop, please abide by that. That is her no longer giving you or allowing consent in that situation. It means no, stop.
And as I've said to you before, unfortunately, we're living in a time where there's a huge kind of movement of
Rising.
men going
It
on in the background where they're
really
trying
is.
to get men to feel like this behavior of mistreating women is now
We've
something to
got
be
women voting,
celebrated, or
but we
something
got
that
we
men
my
should aspire to, or that we
I
should
don't.
legalize it or normalize it.
Ladies,
And
we've
I
got to
think
be
that
careful
is,
out there what you are putting a vote ticking against, because it's very scary what is going on out there in terms of with us women having the liberty to have an abortion or terminate a pregnancy. Sorry, same thing. To access the pill so that we do not have to reproduce. I mean, having that taken away, that's not cool. We need to stick together. Yeah,
well, I
we need
mean,
that
then
camaraderie.
that's another, that could be another topic for
That
another
could be
day,
another
because they
topic
are
for another day.
trying to move backwards in the US with that, as you know. Um,
Very.
so yeah, I think that's why I speak out. That's why I try and put an alternative narrative out there that no, there's a difference between having sex and assault. And we know the difference when it's happening. You know the difference when you're doing it. So stop trying to use these podcasts and these stupid movements to try and make out that it's got something to do with being a man or being manly, or that women want it. And they do not. No, they do not.
Women are human beings. We feel, we are your mothers, we're your sisters, we're your aunts, we're your wives, we're your daughters. Treat us with some respect. And that's all you say. And I applaud you for this program that you put out there into the universe. Hopefully, someone will get to watch it. I'm looking forward to seeing the comments. And yeah, let's do this again.
All right, should we leave it there for today then?
Yeah, I've got the
All
kids
right.
downstairs. I've
All
got the whole
right,
tribe.
hun. Well,
Mm.
lovely speaking to you. And yeah, let us know in the comments. We'll see you on the next one.
Love.
Bye.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Bye.
Bye.